Yo, what's up guys? Teacher Paul here, and today we have a coffee request. If you want to request a video, click over here or go over to buy me coffee. Link is in the pinned comments, and thank you for your support and for your requests. Every time you request a video, it keeps me here longer and full time. Today's video comes from Whiplash, who says, Lord of the Rings explained. This is Norse mythology influence. We have been deep diving into Norse mythology, and yet again, this video will make it easier for many to connect as it shows Tolkien's love for Norse mythology. And there's a little bit of promo in the beginning, so let's see. This is from the channel Viking, VKNG. Wow, it's a new channel, I guess. Shout out to Viking. If you want to check out the video without my commentary, link is in the description. Let's check this out.
Hi Vikings fans! Here at VKNG, we love everything about Viking history and Norse mythology. These themes have an enormous impact on the jewelry that we create with our partners for the VKNG store. But it's not just us who have been influenced by Norse mythology. Did you know that writer J.R.R. Tolkien was a keen student of Norse mythology? In the 1920s, he even created a Viking club with his friend C.S. Lewis, so that...
Yo, that's pretty cool. They have a sponsor, or they create jewelry. That's interesting. Hey, sponsor my videos too. Kidding, not really.
20s, he even created a Viking club with his friend C.S. Lewis, so that they could get together with other enthusiasts to discuss Norse and German languages and culture.
Oh yeah, I've watched the movie Tolkien.
We're going to look at some of the elements of Norse mythology that inspired parts of Tolkien's work. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss one of our films. If you sign up to our email list using the link in the description, you'll also receive a free extract from our ebook on Norse gods, monsters, and myths. Of course, you'll also get emails with exclusive discounts for the VKNG store. Midgard and Middle-earth. Tolkien created a complex and coherent world to act as a setting for his stories. He spent many hours creating maps of Middle-earth and Undying Lands, and the other places that he imagined within his fantasy universe. Tolkien's world, Ea, which means the world that is highly influenced by Norse cosmology. In Norse mythology, men live in Midgard, the Middle Realm, which was created by Odin for mortal men. Tolkien's mortal characters, including men, hobbits, and dwarves, live in Middle-earth. Tolkien's gods, the Valar, live in Valinor, a separate realm that shares many similarities with Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods in Norse mythology. Interestingly, Valinor is linked with Middle-earth by a land bridge, but mortals cannot make the crossing without the express assistance of the Valar. Asgard is connected to Midgard by the Rainbow Bifrost Bridge, which only the gods can cross. But the gods sometimes take the souls of worthy dead mortals to Asgard to live in Valhalla. There are many small details in Tolkien's world that seem to be a nod towards Norse mythology. For example, the Golden Hall of the Kings of Ronin is called Medusel, which means Mead Hall. It is clearly based on the Great Mead Hall, Heorot, that Beowulf occupies. Tolkien was considered an expert in the Old English poem.
Beowulf is also Norse mythology? I know there's a movie of Beowulf. I don't think it was a big hit though. And I can't remember what it is about. Or am I tripping?
Ronin is called Medusel, which means Mead Hall. It is clearly based on the Great Mead Hall, Heorot, that Beowulf occupies. Tolkien was considered an expert in the Old English poem Beowulf, which is about a 6th century Danish hero. Both halls have a roof of straw that gleams like gold. When Legolas describes the hall in the books, he uses a great quote from Beowulf. The light of it shines far over the land. When the Fellowship arrives at the hall, they are challenged by the guard and told that they must leave their weapons outside. When the heroes of Beowulf arrive at Heorot, they are also challenged by the guard and forced to pile their weapons up at the door. The people of Middle-earth. Many of the peoples of Middle-earth are based on the supernatural beings mentioned in Norse mythology. For example, trolls are very common in Scandinavian stories and are very similar to the ones that we meet in The Hobbit. Big, ugly, and stupid, and often described as being turned to stone by the...
But those are orcs. Or those... No, were there... They were trolls? These were trolls? Wait, I need to watch The Hobbit again.
and often described as being turned to stone by the light of the sun. Elves and dwarves. Tolkien's elves and dwarves are probably the most obvious examples of creatures borrowed from Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, there are two different races of elves: light elves that shine brightly and are akin to the gods, and the dark elves that live in the darkness and are master craftsmen. Tolkien's elves are clearly based on the light elves of Norse mythology, but he also borrows the idea of there being more than one type. He describes two different types of elves. The Calaquendi are the light elves, most closely akin to the gods because they made a perilous sea journey to see the shining trees of Valinor before they were destroyed.
And another note to Nordic, the Elvish that they speak sounds very Scandinavian. At least I noticed when I was watching it.
This is why they carry a shining light within them. The Morkandi are the dark elves who do not make the journey. They lack this light and so are a little bit closer to the earth. But the dark elves of Norse mythology also appear in Tolkien's work as dwarves. According to the Old Norse stories, dark elves live in a dark underground world where they work as master blacksmiths. They are covetous of great wealth to make their creations. A pair of dwarves killed Kvasir, the smartest man who ever lived, and used his blood to create the mead of poetry. Tolkien's dwarves are also master blacksmiths.
Thank you,
covetous
Lena.
of riches. Their hoard of gold in the lonely mountain is what attracted the attention of the dragon Smaug. While the language that Tolkien created for the elves is based on Latin, his language of the dwarves is based on Old Norse runes. The dwarves that we meet in The Hobbit are all named after dwarves listed in the Voluspa saga, which tells us the story of creation and recounts the Ragnarok prophecy for the end of days. Hobbits. While hobbits are not a race of beings that we'd find in Norse mythology, Froto's name seems to have been taken from the Ynglinga saga, a mythical prehistory of Scandinavia. It describes a Danish king, Frodi, descendant from Odin, who rules over a period of peace and prosperity, described as a time during which no one would steal a ring. This seems an appropriate name for one of the few characters that can resist the deep temptation posed by the power of the One Ring.
Barely.
Dragons.
Barely.
The dragon Smaug is also very similar to the dragons that appear in various Norse tales. They are ferocious and long-lived, tend only to fly at night, and are covetous of riches that they keep in grand hoards. Perhaps the most famous dragon is Fafnir. He was a dwarf, but he grew covetous of the treasure that his father received from the gods, largely.
There's another video that deep dives into the story here of the dwarf. What did he say? What did he call Fafnir?
Covetous of the treasure.
What was it?
He was a dwarf and hoards. Perhaps the most famous dragon is Fafnir.
Fafnir. So there's a video before this one that I reacted to that jumps into this whole story of Loki finding, the fish and stuff like that, like Fafnir, and then the whole story with the treasure. We deep dive into that on a previous video if you guys want to check it out. And I was shocked at how this was so similar to Smaug. Smaug.
He was a dwarf, but he grew covetous of the treasure that his father received from the gods, largely thanks to a cursed ring that the trickster Loki included in the gift.
Yeah,
He
indeed.
subsequently killed his father and shapeshifted into a dragon so that he could drive everyone away from his father's castle and protect his treasure. He sounds very much like Smaug.
Irish leprechauns.
Gandalf is also named after one of the dwarves in the Voluspa saga, but in a 1946 letter,
Torbjörn says this video is very Hollywood style. It's lying about a lot of Norse mythology. There's no Rainbow Bridge, for example. Ah, okay.
Tolkien specifically stated that he imagined Gandalf as an Odinic wanderer. Odin, the principal god in Norse mythology, was known to leave his seat in Asgard and wander the world of men looking like an old man with a great beard and a brimmed hat.
He's supposed to be
Like
Odin?
Gandalf is a sorcerer and tends to make helpful trouble wherever he goes.
You shall not
Gandalf
pass.
is also one of the Valar, which are a godlike race that live in Valinor, Tolkien's equivalent of Asgard. The Balrog that Gandalf confronts in the mines of Moria is based on Surtur, a great fire giant that is destined to burn much of the world at Ragnarok. The collapse of the bridge in Moria that sees the two fall into the center of the earth is a reference to the collapse of the Rainbow Bifrost Bridge between Asgard and Midgard at Ragnarok. And Varanut, the Cursed Ring. We have already mentioned the cursed ring that fell into the hands of the dragon Fafnir. This ring is known as the Andvaranut, and it certainly influenced Tolkien's ideas for his One Ring. It also inspired Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen opera, which Tolkien disliked considering its fascist propaganda. We know that Tolkien was very familiar with the story as he wrote his own version of the legend of Sigurd and Gudrun, which contains the story of the Cursed Ring.
This voice is very AI though. I mean, the script is very good, but feels very AI.
The story, a dwarf named Andari would shapeshift into a fish. One day he swam to the home of the water nymphs to see their fabled treasure, but when the nymphs saw his strange appearance, they laughed at him. Andvari became enraged and stole their treasure for himself. A master craftsman, Andvari used some of their treasure to make a gold ring for himself, which became known as the Andvaranut. As well as being incredibly fine, the ring was enchanted to ensure that his treasure hoard always grew. Andvari then spent his days as a fish, protecting his treasure. One day,
how can a
Odin,
fish protect
Honir, and Loki
treasure?
were on their way to see King Hreidmar of the Dwarves. On their journey, they stopped at the river where Andvari lived, and Loki spied his treasure hoard. But they also encountered an otter with a fine pelt. Loki killed the otter and took his pelt as a gift for the Dwarf King. When the trio arrived at the hall, the Dwarf King was angered by this gift as he saw that it belonged to his son Otr, who regularly shapeshifted into an otter. The gods agreed to pay a ransom for the death as was customary, but the king demanded enough gold to cover the entire pelt, which was stretched to become extremely large, and not leave a single hair visible. Loki remembered Andvari's hoard and went back to it. He captured Andvari in his fish form and forced him to hand over his gold hoard in exchange for his life. Andvari did this, but begged Loki to let him hold on to his ring. The trickster refused and prized the ring from the dwarf. In his devastation, Andvari cursed the ring. While it could bring wealth to the owner, it would also bring devastation. The gods returned to the Dwarf King's hall and handed over the treasure, but Loki held on to the ring, considering it the most precious thing in the hoard. The gods thought that they had covered the whole pelt, but the king noticed that there was still a single whisker visible. Odin demanded that Loki complete the payment and hand over the ring. The Dwarf King accepted the payment and immediately became obsessed with the fine gold hoard, and especially the ring. The king's two other sons, Rean and Fafnir, also became enamored by the hoard and were upset when their father refused to share it with them. In the end, Fafnir killed his father and took the ring for himself. Under its influence, he permanently shapeshifted into a dragon and drove everyone else away from his father's hall so that he could protect his precious hoard.
I thought they were not going to deep dive into the story, but they are. This is the same story that we reacted to just now. So that's what I was trying to say, the dragon, and it's very similar to what the Lord of the Rings did with Smaug. Smaug, right?
Rean was also driven away from his father's hall and set himself up in a local human village. In this village, he met the young hero Sigurd, who brought his father's broken sword Garm to the smith to be reforged. This may have been one of the inspirations for Narsil, the sword of the kings of Gondor that the elves reforged into Anduril for Aragorn. Rean convinces Sigurd to kill Fafnir for him and bring him the ring. He also asks Sigurd to bring him Fafnir.
Guys, just to let you know, 20 seconds for the super chat to run out if you want to hit that goal.
Fafnir's heart, which he intends to eat as it has magical properties. Sigurd is successful, but accidentally ingests some of the blood from Fafnir's heart.
10.
This allows him to understand the voices of birds, and they share with him the information that Regan is planning on killing him. Sigurd kills Regan and keeps the ring for himself, but his life is also cut short, no doubt affected by the continuing curse of Andvari's ring. Tolkien's One Ring. Tolkien's One Ring is much more complicated than the Andvaranud, but the Dwarven ring was clearly one of the inspirations for his Ring of Power. Another may have been Odin's ring, Draupnir. This was the finest golden ring in existence, also crafted by the dwarves. It was also magical, and every 9 days it would produce another 8 rings equally as fine, therefore ensuring Odin's continued wealth. Kennings are complex and poetic alternative names for things commonly used in Norse texts.
It's a little bit different, right? From thank you, Whiplash. Oh, we missed it, but thank you so much, Whiplash. What is the name? The Ring of Power. I've been watching it. I think it's on season 2 now. Not sure. And it was crafted by the dwarves, wasn't it?
In Odin's ring, Draupnir. This was the finest golden ring in existence, also crafted by the dwarves. It was also magical, and every 9 days it would produce another 8 rings equally as fine, therefore ensuring Odin's continued wealth. Kennings are complex and poetic alternative names for things commonly used in Norse texts. One of the kennings for gold is Draupnir's precious sweat, perhaps inspiring Tolkien's decision to have Gollum refer to the ring as his precious.
Precious sweat?
What do you think? Tolkien's One Ring is clearly more powerful than any of the rings that we meet in Norse mythology, and his fantasy world is complex and draws inspiration from various sources, as well as Tolkien's own imagination. The Lord of the Rings is much greater than a retelling of Norse mythology, but these are certainly nice Easter eggs for fans like us. Let us know what you thought of this video in the comments section, and also hit the subscribe button to receive all our updates. You can find lots more information about Norse mythology on our website.
It's a great video.
dkngjewelry.com. There you will also find amazing Viking-inspired jewelry, including some very fine gold rings, if you dare. Can't wait for our next video? Subscribe to our mailing list and receive an extract from our ebook, Norse Gods, Monsters, and Myths.
Smart channel, smart channel. But very well explained. I think the script is really cool. Tolkien was inspired by a lot of mythology from the current religions, like Melkor being the devil. Also, the One Ring itself was inspired by Greek mythology. There was a shepherd. So I'm reading one of the comments here. Guys, this is so interesting to learn, because I grew up watching Lord of the Rings. Didn't know anything about Norse mythology until I started this channel, and you guys are showing me a lot of stuff. And it's interesting how much Hollywood uses not only Norse mythology, but Greek mythology, Roman history also. And it's interesting how they make all of these videos based on other countries' stories, right? It's interesting. And I've been saying, I think you guys are missing out. If you make movies that are based on your own stories, I think you guys would be like leading in terms of movies and stories, because you guys have so many good mythology to work with. With that said, I know that there's a series called Ragnarok. Is that a good series to add to the wish list or no? Let me know if you guys want me to add that. I might buy Pressure Ring. Hey, VKNG, if you're watching this, I'm kind of promoting you. Anyways, guys, that's fun. Thank you so much, Whiplash. This one ended nicely with it being a lot of Easter eggs and inspiration, but that Lord of the Rings is obviously much more and inspired by other things as well. Indeed, yeah. Videos like this makes it much more fun to watch and read The Lord of the Rings again. Indeed, makes me want to watch it again. Guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, don't Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to request a video like Whiplash did, go over to Buy Me Coffee. You can click over here or click over here for my educational playlist. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.